How does one become more adaptive and able to thrive after going through a really terrible event, such as an accident that causes permanent changes? How does one push through the fears to reach success? In today's episode, we're joined by Caitlyn Connor, and we hear her incredible story from ICU survivor to adaptive thriver. And she gives us the tools and methods she uses to be more adaptive despite any struggle one encounters. So tune in.
Through that tragedy taught me life is finite. You really have a short window to take what it is from life that you want and enjoy it.
You can go back to that day, February 18, 1990, and change what happened. My honest answer is I wouldn't change it.
You're just going to have to go through it, and your strength is going to be found in simply going through it and being authentic and real in the process.
I was talking with my palliative care doctor today, and she turned around to me and she looked at me and she was like, "Do you think that you'll eventually beat this?" And I was sort of like, yeah, that's probably what I'm trying to do.
No, nothing will ever take away the pain of my daughter not being here. My reality.
Well, I know what my body's going to do to me. I've got a wheelchair in my future. But you know what I've been looking for?
What's that?
One with off-road wheels.
Just remembering me as I am, happy and energetic and full of life, no matter what.
You can expect life to kick you in the teeth, but you always get back up, no matter what, and you just keep going.
Living Adaptive with Scott Davidson, a podcast about learning to live adaptively.
All right, what's up, people? I'm with Caitlyn Connor. Caitlyn Connor is an athlete, most recently with Team Some Assembly Required, and also she's been with Team Catapult. She's the first female amputee boxer in the U.S. and second in the world. She's a model with corporations like Target, and she's a mom, an artist, and sponsored by organizations like York Athletics, Swiftwick Athlete, and a bunch of others. She runs the great community of Be More Adaptive. And most recently, she's a first place winner of the very first Para Elite Spartan race. So, Caitlyn, you've been doing a lot of things, for sure. You've been doing a lot of things. So I appreciate you finding time to fit us in. What's up? And thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So how was that, winning that first Elite Spartan race with the Para Spartan teams?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. It was such a great day to be out there. The weather was the best you could have asked for, and my teammates were perfect. So I couldn't ask for anything better than that. So
your teammates are nuts. They're funny.
They're hilarious. My sides were hurting so hard from laughing that weekend.
Yeah, Jeremy, who I follow, Jeremy Ogle, he's a very funny person. I follow him on social media. He's always posting and he's always trying, new stuff. He's always out there. It's just a really funny character. I was so excited for you guys, though, when I saw you won. That was pretty amazing because I was tracking that race to see what was going on. And it's not too far from us where I am in Vegas. And it was pretty amazing to see you guys really tore it up. It was pretty exciting time for sure. There's a lot of people in, though, that weekend. Really exciting time.
Yeah, we had a blast. We had it's myself, Jeremy Ogle, Trevor Bataille, and Joe Fonseca. And Joe was kind of the team leader, and he would kind of keep us focused. And believe it or not, I was the weak link of the team. And so I would get to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm cramping. I need to take a break. And they all listened. And they understood that when I would say something, I was serious. I wasn't trying to quit. It was I needed 5 seconds to relax my muscles so I could continue on. And so Joe would say, okay, we got 10 seconds. We count down. And after that, we just start taking off running again because we knew, everybody was going to get as close as they could to us. So we tried to keep our pace. And, by the end of it, we were happy and proud of our results. There wasn't a single obstacle we didn't put everything out on. So very proud of that weekend.
That turf is nuts. I mean, the Mojave Desert is crazy, from the rocks to the sand, everything. I mean, going on rocks and just running that turf. I hike it and it's just out of control, and I'm always sore afterwards if it's anything of a decent length. It's a lot to deal with. So that was a crazy course that you guys ran for sure. And you're
especially doing burpees in the sand and the rocks, because you would get down there and I had half gloves on, and so even though I had part of my hand covered, you could still feel the rocks kind of slice into your hand. And when you burpee, you have to go all the way down to the ground, and I would 9 times out of 10 slam my crotch with a rock, and I'm like, oh, just keep going. It's so painful. I can only imagine what the guys had to go through with that part. But
well, you guys rock the Some Assembly Required, right? That's your team. This was
yeah, Team Some Assembly required.
They're pretty notable for sure. I know you've been involved with Catapult also, and I'm sure a bunch of other groups, but I have seen that you've raced under those banners too. So pretty cool that you're involved.
Team Catapult, Team CAF. Recently we did Happy Feet with the Dallas Marathon. That was a fun one too. So a lot of great organizations out there.
And you're running with Girls on the Run, which I've been involved in.
Yes, I love Girls on the Run. Is a great little mission, especially because I have a 3-year-old little girl, and she's discovered she likes to run already. So she tries to hop on the treadmill with me, and it's pretty cute.
I got emotional running that, like I don't know why. It was just, you're with your girls and you're running. Well, it was my middle daughter, and it was actually like one of the more, I've been involved in a lot of stuff, and I don't know why that one touched as much, where I was like, this is like an emotional ending as we went together. It was a really cool event.
And it should. It's so important for little girls to understand that they have the power to do what they want to. When I grew up as a kid, people would tell me I was ugly. People would say just mean things all the time. And guess what? I believed them for years, up literally until I got into the accident, lost my leg. And I believed all these awful things. And so it took me, having to lose my leg, almost losing my life, to understand that what people say it's not true. You have to push it out, and you have to keep going, and you have to define who you are and not let others define you.
It's some shit, I'm dealing with the middle school age right now. I get yelled at when I drop them in interviews, by the way. They hate it, but I'm going to anyways because it's going to do some good, kids. And I'm dealing with this like middle school age where it is all about that. It is all about appearances. And now it's magnified to a scale that's just crazy with social media, and it's a constant comparison.
With filters.
Yeah.
Let's not forget all these filters that make everything false. I mean, I've learned the art of filtering because I do marketing, so I understand how you can change a photo in seconds and make it look like something that it's maybe not necessarily actually looking like. So it's interesting the way society has changed to be accepting of that.
It sucks. It really does. It kind of sucks. It's just not real, but I get why it's done. There's a purpose, but for kids, especially girls, it's I don't know, there's a bad vibe around it, and it definitely builds up a lot of bad negative energy. So yeah, the Girls on the Run was really impactful. So it's pretty cool you're involved with them. Now, you talked about this. You said you lost your leg. Losing your leg's a crazy story. I mean, you guys were on a motorcycle, I believe, and somebody texting nailed you. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. So it was a few months before that, my brother had passed away. And then a few months after he passed away, we got married. We kind of pushed our wedding up a year, actually. My mom said, just hurry up and give me grandbabies. And we're like, all right, whatever. We're already engaged. We're already getting married. So we pushed it up. And then right after the honeymoon, we found out my mother-in-law had stage 4 liver and colon cancer. And so then we had more reason to push that up even more. And, I always wanted to be a mom, so that wasn't a hard decision for me. And then I think we went a month of trying and got a negative on the test. And, I was upset, and which is dumb because people will try for years and get no results.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, it's the day before my birthday. A girl is texting and driving and not paying attention and T-boned us on the motorcycle. And we got sent to 2 separate hospitals, and, I lost 75% of my leg at impact.
Wow.
He, fractured his pelvis all the way down the right side, fractured a femur, broke a sacrum. The clutch of the bike actually turned into his gut and punctured his gut. And he got really lucky, and it missed, his major organs. And so then we had just tons of road rash, and that's how we started our marriage. And, I get to the hospital, and the last thing they asked me was if they thought I was pregnant. And I said, I don't know. We've been trying, but I did 3 tests, once a week each before the accident, and they all said negative. And so sure enough, I woke up, and the first thing the nurse said was, we want to tell you that you're 4 weeks pregnant. So that's how I found out I was pregnant. And I basically said, okay, I'm going back to bed. I mean, my whole family is standing next to me, and I'm actually mad because my mom was standing there and I couldn't even surprise her because they already said it in front of everybody.
But you know what?
So,
I've heard this part of your story, and I got to say, you win on originality. That nurse totally screwed up. That nurse screwed up.
Yep. Because there was no hiding it at that point. The only thing we could hide was gender. So we did a gender reveal later. But, at that point, it, was a blessing in disguise. It gave me something to focus on instead of thinking about myself. So because I was pregnant, I had to, go through surgeries and everything with minimal anesthesia, minimal antibiotics, and minimal pain meds. The most I could have was an Norco, which is Tylenol 3. And, they had to take certain things out of anesthesia. And so things were a little different. And I would have a nurse come in and say, what's your pain level? They always ask you what your pain level, and I hate that question. And so I would say it's a 10. I wouldn't say with attitude or anything. I worked in the medical industry at one point, and so I understood what it's like on that side. And she looked at me and she goes, "Well, look at you. You should be a 10. You look awful." Wow. Oh man,
come on.
That was the same nurse. She left me in my urine and everything. She's a bad nurse. I basically told the head nurse, "Get her out of here. I don't want her anymore." And after that, it was great. But even it's funny, even in those situations, you still have people who are miserable and they just want to tear you down to make themselves feel bigger. But, after that, I just focused on my daughter, and I was in the hospital for 2 weeks, and I kind of knew my outcome. As soon as I rolled over after rolling off the bike, I saw my ankle turned inward and kind of detached.
Oh.
So I was aware at that moment that it was going to be gone. And I still to this day believe that accepting it right then and there is what has moved me on so quickly and moved me forward. So,
it's wild to think that you looked down and saw that.
Oh yeah. And that was the first thing. I sat up and I looked at it and I was like, okay, that's gone. And, I knew I'd severed an artery. So the next thing I did was I yelled really loud because I wanted traffic to stop. It wasn't because of pain. It was, I don't want to get ran over again. And so, and for whatever reason, traffic on both sides of the highway stopped. And then I just started breathing as slowly as possible to control my oxygen levels so I didn't lose more blood. And I think being in that moment and finding my calm in such chaos is really what helped me save as much of my leg as I did.
You're below the knee, right?
I am. So I'm below the knee. I lost about 6 inches of leg. So
that's a wild story. I mean, like if you think about, texting is so freaking dangerous, texting and driving. And then you add in that there's a whole campaign out there, and then you go through it. That's got to be shocking. But then to hear the story of how it's not just you going through it too. It's your husband, and you guys are going to adapt to this whole new life. I think it's easier when you're born with something you have to adapt to. That's just my personal opinion.
And there's two sides of it. I mean, being alive most of your life, it was the day before my 24th birthday. So being alive for 24 years and then suddenly being thrown into this kind of world, or, you're born with it and people are cruel and you have to live your life going through people being cruel. Because, disability today is not like it was 10 years ago.
No,
or even,
for sure.
even earlier than that. It's definitely more of an accepting society today than it was. And today's society is still cruel, don't get me wrong. But you go back 20 years or earlier, you go to other countries today even, it's not as accepting as you would hope. So, I'm fortunate to be thrown into it in this day and age rather than being born with it. My brother was born with CP, so he got to experience a harder side of it. People being cruel, less able to get jobs just because of workforce issues and things like that. So
CP is a big deal depending on the scale.
Yeah,
and that probably helped you at least know there's ways to adapt to whatever's in front of you,
Yeah. I guess my brother, this will sound not so great, but my brothers and I used to joke with my mom, because my oldest brother had cerebral palsy. The second brother had seizures, and I was the baby, the golden child in their eyes, right? They joked with me. and they said, "Oh, you're so perfect," blah, blah, blah. And then I lose my leg. And it was just after my brother had died actually from seizures. And so
Damn.
my brother was CP, and I would joke to my mom and say, "Hey Mom, now all your kids are disabled." Just, finding light in something like it. But, it's interesting to go through and actually have some kind of relative base and understanding of what it would be like.
I have a horribly dark sense of humor to a lot of things. It's the way you cope. Yeah, for sure. It's a great coping mechanism for me. It works out. Yeah, it's kind of funny. You talked a lot of trash, like I'm the golden child, and then you had that pop up.
Yeah. See.
First thing that came to my head though, when they announced the pregnancy, I'm like, whoa! So you're going to adapt while you're going to have your first child. So you come home and both of you were in chairs, I think, at that point.
Yes, we were both in wheelchairs. And he's my ex-husband now. He's a wonderful father and everything, but he would drive me nuts though. We would go to like Target and we'd be in those electric carts.
Yeah.
And he would be behind me and I'd be driving mine in front of him, and he would kind of look off into the aisles and not pay attention and then ram into me. And it's so annoying because every time you back up in those carts, everybody in the store knows because it beeps. So I just would eventually avoid him. After that, I just crutched around and said, "Forget it. I'm not going in a cart near you."
So lesson learned is like, if you want your marriage to last, don't ram each other with carts in the grocery store, like in Target, right? Yeah, make that shit last.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's at least you guys were having fun in the situation. So you have your child. Yeah. Well, you start hopping into a bunch of crazy stuff. The craziest, I think, in my opinion, the craziest is boxing. And to me, this is really rad, really bold. You actually go out and fight. But you also jumped into a bunch of other things. What was your motivation to all of a sudden get so active?
Yeah, I mean, as far as my goals, I started really simple. I wasn't an athlete before I lost my leg at all. I was just a band kid, and I worked all the time, and I just worked. I can remember tons of work in my childhood. My dad owned a video store, and I think I started counting back change at the age of 8. So I remember lots of work. And when I lost my leg and I was pregnant, and I was still in my chair a lot because I ended up breaking my leg again after I lost it. I fell out of the wheelchair and landed on my leg because I didn't want to fall on my butt and hurt the baby. So it's kind of like a quick sacrificial moment of, what do I do? And so I stayed in the chair a lot. I went from 111 pounds to 172 pounds during my pregnancy. And my first goals were simple. It was, I want to walk before the baby and I want to run before the baby. And it wasn't because of sports or anything like that. It was just simply, I wanted to be a mom that could chase after my kid and play with her. So those were my goals. They were very simple. And I met those with plenty of time. And after I met them, I kind of looked in the mirror and I didn't like what I saw, and I felt weak and I felt like a target. I would go to the grocery store and I felt like anybody could just walk up to me and steal my purse or try to take my kid, and I would have no way to defend myself. So then I started thinking, I want to build muscle. I'm going to get stronger. Again, not really competitive, just strength, just trying to defend myself, which is where I got brought into CrossFit and kind of running. My prosthetist, Baker O&P, said, "Hey, have you ever heard the Challenge Athletes Foundation?" I said, "No." And they said, "Well, they have these grants where you can get running legs." And I was like, "Oh, I wasn't really planning on running, but I guess, running would be nice. Can't really run away in this leg." Yeah. So then they got me a running blade, and that's how then it started turning towards sport. And I started lifting weights with one leg, and I was like, wow, I've never done this before. This is great. What else can I do? And then it was a thing. And it was always, what else can I do? And I realized, I didn't really do sports before, so I didn't really know what I was good at or bad at. So I just tried everything I could get my hands on. I tried it because, my dad taught me growing up, you should try something new every day. And with him, it was normally food. He would trick me.
Yeah, totally.
And he would tell me I was eating chicken nuggets, and it was really chicken gizzards. Oh, and he would do that kind of stuff. But, I started applying that to my everyday life. What can I try today that I haven't done before to help me grow as a person? And even if it was something as simple as getting up from my chair with one leg compared to, what I'm used to with two. So I started applying that, and I started trying everything
to fit, to adapt to what's going on. So I grew up with issues. I had tons of surgery, and I was fine though. If you put workout pants on, you're not going to see scars, and I'm able to adapt and make it look good. I can, at the time I could really squat heavy, still do stuff. And as things change, things got worse, scar tissue got worse over time, whatever it is, I've learned to adapt to the way it is. And you talked a lot about getting in the physical realm. I was able to kind of hang out and do some jujitsu, things like that for a long time, get to do those things. And it really was good for my well-being to find a sports that work. Boxing, for sure, I got to toy around with that, but I would never, ever do what you did and actually go live and step into there. That was nuts. That's freaking nuts.
We got to, my friend Erica Novaria out of Italy, we got to make that happen and make it a real match. We didn't get to go the full 3 rounds like we wanted because she had 50 pounds over me. So USA boxing rules, you have to be within 5 pounds of each other. And she was the only opponent in the world that would box. It's just 2 of us. And now I'm starting to see more women pop up. They haven't had their matches yet, but they're starting to pop up and train, which is great. So we got to step in the ring together, and it was great because we got to hang out and be roommates the night before. And my coach was like, "Why are you rooming with your opponent? That's not normal. You should be in your own room." But there was only 2 of us, and that's how it works. So I got to see her interact with my daughter, and she's so sweet. And she was kind of shadow boxing with my daughter, and it was I have a video of it. It's so cute. And I looked at her and I was like, "Erica, I like you. I don't want to hit you in the face." I was like, "This is going to suck tomorrow." But, we got into the ring, and as soon as we had to fight and that bell rang, we took it serious. We went to work. We didn't give anything less than everything that we could because it would be an insult not to deliver our best to each other. So we went at each other, and we got to make a little history and enjoy ourselves with the sport as we did it. So it was great. Yeah,
listeners I'll link your video and show notes, and so they can actually see you sparring. You got some zip on your punches. You got some heat on them for sure. And so you can hit. You can
I have
definitely
a little
hit.
bit of a reach.
Yeah, you do have a reach. You're tall, right?
I'm only 5'6.5", actually.
Well, it looks like you got a decent reach on you, so look out for sure. No, you definitely had some zip on it, for sure. Now it makes me wonder. You've been involved in everything. We listed a lot of stuff you're involved in. We've listed a lot of teams. You just talked about somebody you hung with from Italy. You've had a lot of experiences that have came out of a tragic event. Some would deem a tragic event, and to you, when you look back on a situation, would you switch what happened, or would you let it just ride?
Not.
Okay.
No. I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't gone through it. I have no animosity against the girl that hit us. I needed a slap in the face. Apparently I needed a couple though, with all the other life events. Cause after a year, my mother-in-law passed away. And then right after that, my mom got leukemia, and actually she passed away this year.
Are you kidding?
And she passed away this year, and literally I got rear-ended and put in the ER the day before she died. So I didn't get to go say goodbye to her. Jeez. So, I've had a lot of stuff happen this year too, even, but, everything happens for a reason. I believe you're not given anything that you're not meant to handle, that you're not strong enough to handle. You just have to step up to it and do it. And, if I hadn't gone through it, I wouldn't have realized how complacent I was in my life. I didn't do anything. I've traveled more in the past 2 years than I have in my entire life. And I've done more in the past 2 years in my entire life. And I've actually helped other people. And before, I just went to work, came home, paid bills, went to bed. I didn't have anything exciting. If you asked me, "Caitlyn, what's your story?" I didn't have a story. I was a small town girl, grew up working in a video store, went to school, went to work. That was it. There was nothing else to me. And now, I can say I've done things. I've met people. I've met Arnold Schwarzenegger. I've been on sets for Target and other large retailers and things I've never thought I would do. And things like modeling. I've modeled now, and that was something growing up I never imagined I would do. And it kind of goes back to what we're talking about with Girls on the Run, about how, kids tell you you're ugly and you kind of believe these negative things. And so that was something I always kind of envisioned. I put myself in their shoes and, pretend I could do it, but I would never step up to the plate and say I could. And I never realized how often I was closing the door to my opportunities before I even got the chance to open it. I just would tell myself, no, you can't do this. And then I would never know that I could.
Wow, that's like a highlight right there.
It's true, though. I mean, you never know what you can do unless you just go out and try it. And so now one of the things that I live by is, try everything. The best thing you can do in your life is to try. Whatever it is, you just go try. I mean, obviously I'm not talking about doing drugs or hookers or anything like that. Yeah. I'm talking about going out and trying real life experiences that fulfill your life, and also, these experiences should be things that are fulfilling for other people. They shouldn't be selfish. Sometimes it's good to be selfish, right? You should love yourself. You should take the time to take care of yourself. But when we're talking full experiences, you need to focus on other people as well. That's what really makes it fulfilling, is when you stop focusing on just yourself.
Wow. Now, there's a lot of people get messed up. There's a lot of people in accidents each day. Hell, we just had a crazy accident in our neighborhood. 6 kids. My heart goes out to them. I don't even know their status. But accidents are always around us, and they don't end up in your situation though. Is it to your philosophy? Does this speak to your philosophy of trying everything? What is it that separated you? Because a lot of people have lost legs. A lot of people have lost a lot of things. They've lost parents, and we're all going to go through that at some point. And not necessarily losing a leg, but, losing loved ones. What is it that you're doing that's so different to make you this successful? I hope I'm saying that right.
Yes. Well, I think one of the big things that sets me aside from people that don't get out there is fear. I have dropped my fears. I still have, some subconscious fears, of course, that are normal. But as far as my fear of failure, fear of being hurt, fear of feeling lost, that stuff doesn't apply anymore, because it's all relative. Everything is relative. You get out there and you can be afraid to jump on a runway and go strut your stuff in something that's slightly revealing, or you can just get out there and do it. And then you realize, oh, it's not the end of the world. I'm not dead. Like, this is actually more compelling than I thought it would be. Or you can be afraid to go out, and I had to learn how to swim, bike, and run to do a triathlon. I didn't do sports before. So for me to get out in the ocean and learn how to open water swim, I had to put a lot of fears away. I still have a lot of friends who do it, and when they get in the water, they're terrified. They're afraid of sharks, or alligators, or whatever, bacteria coming in and infecting them.
I get that.
They come up with a million things in their mind, or you just get out there and you do it, and then you've done it and you realize, oh, well, that's not so bad, because you worked so many things up in your mind. So for me to be able to do what I'm doing, I have to put a ton of fears away. I have to say, no, I can do this. I will do it. And then guess what? I did it. That's where you change things.
How did you get there? Or was it always in you? Did you have like a mentor, or did it just something click?
No, something clicked. After the accident, I realized I didn't know who I was before. I was kind of lost. I thought I had to live life a certain way. I mean, even my mom would say, Caitlyn, go out and get a normal job that pays benefits and is a desk job. And I've done desk jobs my whole life, and I hate desk jobs. It's just not for me. Some people it works. I'm great at it. I just don't enjoy it. It's not fulfilling to me. But sure. It took me saying, okay, the things that other people want me to do is not what I want to do. It took me understanding that I am good at doing bunch of different things. I'm not so great at sitting down and doing one thing. It took me to sit down and be honest with myself and understand that the way people think I should be isn't what I should be. It works for some people, but every now and then you have to realize you know yourself better than somebody else on the outside, right? You know how you think, you know how you work. And I had been so complacent in my life that I wasn't being myself. I was trying to. I was probably over adapting. Actually, I was adapting and becoming what everyone wanted me to be. I was a people pleaser, which there's a major problem with being a people pleaser. You kind of lose yourself when you do that. And I had lost myself, and it took me losing my leg, almost losing my husband at the time, and almost losing my future child to understand that I needed to wake up and start living my life today, not tomorrow. And so now I live my life daily, and everything in the future is going to happen or it won't. You just kind of accept what it is and you keep moving towards your goals.
It seems like individuals like you and I've done a lot of interviews, talked to a lot of people over the years, not just this podcast. And it seems like there's a threshold. Something happens and someone crosses it. Once they realize that the system's just not working, the boundaries, the confinement, the playing it safe doesn't work. And the rewards have been great for the people I talk to. They seem to be really great, but you do have to roll the dice, and rolling that dice is really scary because like here in the States, maybe you drop out of a job that had health benefits. Well, guess what? You don't have them anymore. You're going to roll some dice here. There's simple things like that.
It's even scarier when you need prosthetics and you can't afford health insurance or even health insurance that covers that sort of thing. So you just kind of figure it out along the way. And, the more you put yourself out into the universe, the more the universe picks you up and moves you along with it. And I've found the more that I put myself out there, the more opportunities are present. If you don't get out of your house and look at the sunshine, you don't know the sunshine's there. You see what's in your house. So you got to get out of your box. You got to get out of your box and you got to think outside of that box. And sometimes you just throw the box away. The box is old and ratty and you don't need it. And, you go live your life daily. And expect nothing less than amazing. When you expect things to be awful, they will be awful.
I want to hit on this. You talk about art as your therapy. Art is my therapy. You even have an account. You're starting to build this, I guess maybe a method or a tool of coping with difficult stuff. Why art?
So that actually came about this year. I started having a lot of things go wrong this year, especially with my mom and her death. I was literally in 4 lawsuits at the same time. I had a divorce going, I had a car accident going.
Jeez.
I had, old bills coming from the original accident that I couldn't pay for at the time. And, things just catch up with you. And then I had, problems with my mom's death. Not things I can talk about on that part, but, that's part of the problem. I couldn't talk about anything publicly. Mm-hmm. And so I needed a way to cope that was healthy. That would get me out of my head. I was starting to lose who I was. I was starting to do things like think about driving off a bridge. And, I started to have all these bad thoughts, which I hate to say it, but that's normal. It's normal for people to go through that. And they don't always understand that. Life is not meant to be easy. If it were easy, we wouldn't have any respect for it at all. But I started to recognize I was going to these dark places. And I knew that if I didn't take care of it quick, it could be death. Well, literally, it could be the death of who I am. And I didn't see that for my daughter. I wanted her to have a mother that loved her very much. And she deserves that. So I started this project called Your Art as my therapy, with the concept of using the art of others to help heal my hurt. And so I reached out to a bunch of artists and I said, look, let me tell you my story and you convert it into art, because I couldn't talk about it publicly. And if you have somebody convert it into art, then, you know, you can put it out there and people will interpret it however you see it. But the important part isn't even how the public interprets it. It's, you know, how you interpret it as a subject. So I got some artists together and I said, look, this is what I'm going through. This is what I can't talk about, but it's eating me up inside. And they would create these beautiful masterpieces that looked like torment and pain and all these things that I was feeling. But something else was beautiful. Not only was I feeling like I could express myself through the hands of another, but you get to see your story through another's eyes. And what that does is it kind of opens, maybe the door is closed in front of you, but it opens up a window. And it gives you a way to see what you're going through, your struggles, through another light, so that you can find a way out of it. And, you know, once I started doing that, and I realized, oh, this can help other people. This is something that's bigger than me. So I started creating the project for other people to take part. And I started having people reach out and say, yeah, I want to be an artist, or yes, I want to be a subject. I want to tell you what I'm going through, but I can't talk about it to the world. Or maybe I just don't want to talk about it. Maybe I just want to put little bitty details out there and share very vaguely what I'm going through. And then it also, you know, lets the artist put themselves in somebody else's shoes. And it creates a cycle, a healthy cycle between the artist and the subject and the audience that understands that mental health is actually very normal and it's very real. And, you know, when you step up and you ask for help, and when you step up and you provide help, beautiful things can happen.
I think I really resonate with that. Mental health is always something that's interested me, because if you're adapting, say, to something physical, oftentimes you can break mentally or whatever it is, you know, and you've gone through a lot. You said it. You said, you know, with your mom, divorce, accident, and you've gone through a lot. And I think that's what you're doing right now is really cool. It's really interesting. It's one of the more unique things I've seen. And you're being humble. You're also an artist. I have seen some of your paintings. I was kind of sad that you covered up that, the dark painting you did, because I thought it was really good. I saw you and your daughter kind of whitewash it, which is fine. I'm not judging. I'm just saying that was a good piece.
There's another part of that project though. So, that painting was supposed to be a beautiful landscape, and it just turned into brown and depressing mush. And I looked at it and it made me so sad to look at it. So I whitewashed it with her, and she loved it. She felt so powerful, the paintbrush in her hand.
She loved it. Yeah,
and,
for sure.
Yeah. So we've actually got another part of that project coming soon. We're going to do a photo shoot with it, but, she's going to help me paint that into bright, colorful, images. And it's going to, you'll basically be seeing a transformation of it turning from dark and having somebody else help you turn into something bright and happy. So it does have another step to that project. So she's going to help me paint it all kinds of bright, fun colors. And because she is part of my therapy, she is part of the reason I am happy in my life. And so I want her to be a part of transforming that photo itself.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to watch the process, but I did really like the painting. Maybe I'm dark. I don't know. But like, I thought you did a really good job.
I'm sure I'll do something dark soon too.
Nice.
I do all kinds of things. So
now for your coping mechanisms, you know, like you talk a lot about coping. Actually, you speak, and I think you are you can actually be hired to coach in this realm too, where it's coping with adversity. Obviously you have the background for it. And it seems like most that do a really good job tend to have a background of going through adversity. If you're, what are like if you could point to one or two tools that you have found have been super impactful or good when you're approaching adversity, what would they be?
You know, one of the things that I've done throughout the years consistently, if I'm angry or sad or upset about something, things just aren't going right, I just grab a tablet and I start writing down my thoughts.
Yeah.
And it's not for anybody else to see. It's just for you to see. And then you put those thoughts away and you come back months later, years later. I found notes from years ago and I look at it and I'm like, wow, I was so petty then. Or, wow, I didn't realize I forgot I was going through those thoughts. It's important to get that stuff out of your head, because if you don't, you sit there and you think about it all day. And it's dangerous to let yourself stay in a dark place for so long. because it will transpire into something more dangerous eventually. It turns into thoughts, and then it turns into actions. So you want to take those thoughts and turn them into positive actions. If it means putting on paper privately, or I personally tell my story a lot, and it's not because of necessarily hearing myself speak or hearing my story. It's because something happens beautiful when you share yourself with a stranger even. Another thing I do is every time I go into an Uber or a cab or something, and I have a stranger that's driving, if they're willing to talk, I'll sit there and I tell them my story, and what happens is beautiful. Yeah. Then guess what? They share their story, and it kind of humbles you when you realize, oh, I'm not the only person in this world that's struggling. I did a running study in Colorado with the university there, and I had an African man driving me from the airport, and it was wonderful. We didn't understand each other, but we wanted so hard to speak to each other. So we tried through our language barriers to understand each other as much as we could, and it was wonderful. And so he heard my story, and then he shared his, and it about broke me apart. It was maybe a third of the length of my story, but it had so much impact. It was only his second day back working because a week prior, his 18-year-old daughter had died unexpectedly, and he had to bury her. And so it's things like that. You put out your story, and guess what? It opens up something else. And that was probably the first time that man had spoken about it since it happened. And I had something similar happen with another driver at one point in California. And you can tell that it's therapy talking to people. If you just turn around and talk to a stranger and share something intimate about yourself, they'll do the same. And what you don't understand is how much growth you get out of it. To be able to talk about it, it takes it off your shoulder. You're sharing that burden. And it also allows you to hear what others go through, and it helps you stop focusing on yourself. And when you stop focusing on yourself, you can start focusing on other people and putting good back out into the world.
Totally. I mean, that's the purpose of this podcast. It's the purpose of a lot of things in my life. That's the stuff that interests me, is the stories, because, being vulnerable, sharing your story opens up a pathway for somebody else to do the same. And there's healing in it for sure. I have done the same thing, whether it's an Uber driver, a taxi driver, or whatever. And I know that experience. It's a pretty amazing experience. And then the writing, when you talk about the writing, totally works. I mean, it's evidence-based. Research has shown that this is very, very good for releasing some of those thoughts, maybe processing some of the trauma. It's really cool stuff for sure.
It helps you step away. When you're stuck in your thoughts, you're upset, you're angry, you have all these negative emotions, you need to step away so you don't do something that you regret. Whether it's, breaking friendships or just, something unhealthy to yourself. But if you step away and you kind of put it down on paper first, you can come back to it and maybe see, oh, this is kind of an irrational thought, or, this is still rational. Let me find a positive way to handle this. You just need to step away.
I don't save mine though. I used to. I remember in high school, this girl, I'm not even going to say her name. She messed me up good. I was so in love with her, and she messed me up so good. And I remember writing about it, and it was found. It was totally found by family members. And oh my God, I never heard the end of it. And that spread to friends. I'm like, never leave your stuff around. She messed me up really good though. So it was like I don't
horrifying. Leave mine where it can be found.
Yeah.
But at the same time, after so long of having it, I'll revisit it maybe once, and then, then burn it, shred it, get rid of it, release that. You should let go of things. That's another important thing you should do. You should let go. It's not healthy to hold on to stuff your entire life.
Yeah, for sure. There's a point. I mean, I've had a botched surgery, for instance, and I'm like pissed. I'm like, what the fuck, doctor? Come on, man. You could have did this better. There was other research out there that showed, displayed the proper way to do it. They've had long-term results, but your ego got in the way. And I remember that was one of the things that I had to let go, and it took a lot of time. And At this point,
it's not worth your time.
No.
And the more you stress about things, stress is a killer. The more you stress about things, the more years you're losing on your life.
Yeah, totally.
You got to let go of things so you can enjoy your life while you have it.
And setbacks will arise, during that whole time. I mean, I have setbacks here and there. Luckily, it's been good right now, but the good comes with the bad. The art side of things though that you're doing is totally interesting. Do you have like an artist that really sticks out to you that you've worked with that kind of dives into this subject a little bit? Like a favorite?
Not necessarily. No, that's not true. Right now, my favorite is my best friend, Anna Zamaripa. She does poetry, and she is one of the artists. She's taken on a subject who is also one of my friends, and she's creating poetry as therapy for that friend. And she puts her all into it, and it's something that he's seen a little blip of it, and he's already connected to it. So she's the reason why she's favorite isn't even just because she's fantastic with poetry. It's because she doesn't realize how much of a subject she is herself. She's a social worker, and she cares so much about everybody and everything. And she has been having to sit back and kind of think about her own transgressions in life. And she usually gets it out with therapy, and she's so sweet. And, she's that person that no matter what you do to her, she's probably not going to say anything bad about you. And I envy that in her. She's so pure, and she doesn't even see it, and it's so beautiful, and I love it.
Me too. I envy that part too, where you could be such a positive person in those realms. I try to be positive in a lot of realms, but sometimes you let it fly, and I think there's a better energy.
That's actually why I've selected her as a board member for a nonprofit I'm creating.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Gonna be, so I'm creating a nonprofit called Be More Adaptive. Currently, it is a group in Facebook called the World of Adaptive Sports and Fitness, which is an incredibly long name, so I've shortened it. But also, I've already selected the board members, and it's in the process of starting. But the idea of Be More Adaptive is to simply help the world to be more adaptive. The group right now is fitness and sports related. The organization won't be just selective to fitness and sports. Cool. We'll have adaptive fashion. We'll have things that are related to the job industries, this world, and everything like that. So, it's
what else do you?
The world needs to be more adaptive.
Yeah, Be More Adaptive is an awesome name. First of all, I really like that name. I also liked your other name too. Both were good. Your Facebook group is large. You have a pretty big following, and you have a lot of people that you work with, and you organize a lot of things. And I feel like you kind of keep people on page of what is coming up, especially when it came to adaptive sports events. Will you be doing stuff like that too?
Yeah, so the group is meant to help make it easier for people to get involved in anything that's adaptive. Like when I first became an amputee, I had to search really hard to find anything relating to it. I didn't know what to do. They basically cut my leg off and tried to kick me out of the hospital, and I had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
And so, I want it to be easier for people. I want you to be able to search the word adaptive, and this is the first thing that pops up. And basically, it's your hub, your segue for everything adaptive, and it's your portal that helps get you there. And so
I can't stress this enough, though. I don't want to interrupt you, but I can't stress this enough that this is missing. This is a key component that is really missing.
Yeah, yes, it needs to happen. And the best part about it is it feeds everything. It doesn't take away from anything. So it feeds other nonprofits. It feeds the athletes. It feeds anything relating to the adaptive world, and they all work together. It's kind of like the recycle symbol. Everything feeds into the other.
Yeah.
And this is what that's meant to do. Everything is giving back. And in a healthy relationship, there's give and take. You have to give something. You have to take something. It just works that way. And so this is how this is. And it's meant to help the nonprofits get their events out. It's helped to connect athletes or people wanting to get involved with whatever it is, to have access to it. Eventually, there's going to be grant systems in place to help. There's going to be research facilities involved. I've already got Mount Sinai on board with the spinal cord injuries. I've got other nonprofits involved, and the idea is for it to all work together. It needs to be a healthy system. This is what we're missing.
I gotta voice some wants, some desires in this group. I'm such an asshole.
Yeah, what do you need?
I'm really such an asshole. No, I'm not. It is. You're right. It's a symbiotic relationship, and oftentimes that doesn't happen in certain realms. But like having this group right here does build that. And to go further though, selfishly, I love the idea because it's going to be easier to get access to stories. Not really because you're you're gonna be spotlighting.
You're gonna have access to all of that. Don't you worry. The group on Facebook is already 850 strong, and that's just like people in my friends list.
Fun characters too,
there,
though.
So.
There's some fun characters that you're always hanging with. But here comes the next selfish complaint. Like if you're gonna do some gear for this, which you should, like be more adaptive would be, some sweet gear like a hat or something. Do some flex fit hats and make them fit well. Cause like a lot of these organizations get like,
are you saying, do you have a large head? Is that the problem?
No. I actually have a narrow head. I wear like the small medium, but like the hat quality. Yeah, I totally try to like help the organization, especially people I interview, and they'll get their stuff printed on like clothes I'm just not going to wear. I want something soft. This is so lame that I'm saying this.
No, we'll have gear across the board. Don't you worry about that. I'm in marketing. I know what's needed out there, what's boring.
Yeah, put it on some quality stuff too. I'll pay more. I don't care.
Please, for the love of everything out there, if you're ever going into politics, stop wasting your money on sides and yarns. Just stop it. Nobody wants to read that sign. It's such an eyesore. If you're going to do something, don't make it be that. It's such a waste of materials. Oh my gosh. And it doesn't tell me anything. I don't know what you're doing. I see a color, I see a name that tells me nothing about what you believe in.
I'm pretty excited. I mean, I would like to think that I'll help spread the news and stuff, but I'm pretty excited for this, for selfish reasons, of course. But I am excited because it's going to organize things better. The way I got to you was through people you've raced with to get to your story. I've known your story for a while. It wasn't like something new, but then you guys just crushed it. You just crushed it at one of the hardest courses on Spartan Race, the elite Spartan Race at that. And so it was time. It was like, man, this is a great interview. I'll be lucky to have her.
Now we have to come back this coming year and and keep our title. We have to work a little harder now. People are more interested
they're gunning
in it.
for
There's
you.
many more people.
I've actually seen trash talk. I've seen it already.
Yeah, that's okay. I don't mind it. It's actually a compliment to get trash talk and that kind of thing because, it makes you work. You shouldn't just be handed something. It shows that you work for it. You earned it. So, I want to make sure people make me work for it. I want to earn it.
It was all good nature though, just so you know.
Oh yeah. No. And these people are my friends. I support them and they're going to be people I highlight in the nonprofit as well. So, there's not a person out there I wouldn't jump in front of a train to save. It's all in good nature. There's nothing about that. But yeah,
I think really a huge thing. You're kind of like a conduit. I don't know if this is the right word, but you're kind of like a way of knowing how to enter into a system, a community, to be part of a community. Say if you're going to become part of the CrossFit community, especially adaptive CrossFit, which is getting bigger and bigger. I mean, they have certifications now. Yeah. What is the way that we know that you try everything. What's the easiest way to be involved in your community, to be involved in that, and to also get input on how to become a decent athlete in this realm, not hurt yourself necessarily, be a part of this,
First of all, reach out to me because I know tons of people now. I love to network. I love getting a hold of people. And I generally know somebody somewhere involved in whatever sport you're looking for. There's a couple sports I still haven't touched yet, but I'm working on it. I like to be knowledgeable in everything adaptive. The second thing is, don't be afraid to reach out to somebody that you see doing something you want to do. Reach out, and a lot of times, they're pretty receptive to that, and they're the same as me in the sense that they started somewhere and they had to work hard to get there, and they want it to be easier for other people. Word of advice: don't really reach out to tons of Paralympians or people who are huge and in the spotlight, because guess what? They're pretty busy. and you probably won't get much of a response. And it's not because they don't want to. It's just they're booked. They're busy. They're doing book tours. They're running around on TV shows, all kinds of stuff. Be realistic.
Don't reach out to Noah Galloway right now.
Actually, I've reached out to Noah.
He follows
when I was new, I have no fear. I reached out to everybody, and Noah was one of those people I saw in Dancing with the Stars, and I was like, oh, I want to know that guy. And I was a new amputee at the time when I saw him, and I was like, wow, look at that. That's amazing. And so he was one of the people when I was doing the Lifetime TV show that I reached out to, and I was like, hey, let's collaborate. Let's do a workout together or whatever. And he actually said yes, but then he got on his book tour and he got really busy.
That would have been nuts. That would have been nuts.
Yeah,
that would have been cool.
Yeah, so I didn't get to meet Noah yet, but he's still on my list of people I want to connect with. But
thanks a lot, Noah. I would have enjoyed that. I would have liked to watch.
I don't mind.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he's busy. So Amy Purdy's another one that I kind of reached out to, and she's busy. I mean, it makes sense. These people have lives, and it's a lot of work when you're in the spotlight. The more I get under the spotlight, the more like, holy cow, this is a ton of work.
Yeah, I know. But, we always bother. There's people out there always bothering. I'm one of them. I'll bother until I get the right interview. You know what I mean? And
yeah, and you should. I mean, sometimes persistence is key, and timing. Maybe you contact somebody at the wrong time, and later it's the right time. So you never know. You just have to kind of get out there and throw yourself and see if it catches.
For sure. If you're going to think of teams that are receptive, you have like Team Catapult, Team SAR, some assembly required, that is. Teams like that, what would be receptive for newcomers to kind of if they wanted to travel down, hang out, be part of it and see what it's like? And maybe it's a parent bringing a kid down. Maybe it's just, somebody in their 20s or 30s.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, there's also the Adaptive Training Foundation. They have times you can come and visit and get a feel for what it's like. And then Challenge Athletes Foundation has SDTC, the San Diego Triathlon Challenge, which is fantastic for trying to get involved in sport and in the community. That was the first race I did. I showed up and I did the 44-mile bike ride with zero training. I literally rode the bike 3 miles before I showed up, and I had to learn how to shift on course. It was a really bad idea. But I got out there and I did it, and I was the second to last person to finish that day. I got followed by the chaser truck, but
you still did it.
I have no regrets. I mean, that was a life-changing bike ride for me. I wanted really badly to quit before I got on the bike, and it was funny because one of my friends, Travis Ricks, I always tell this part because the night before I got to sit around a dinner table with literally the gold, silver, and bronze medalists from para-triathlon. And events, I was the oddball, right? Everybody else in the room had done something in the Paralympic realm, and I was just the new kid that had no idea what I was doing. And eventually they turned the conversation to me, and they said, oh, what part of the race are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm doing the bike, which is, I learned, is the hardest part of the race.
Wow.
And so
I didn't know that.
They said, oh. Yeah, they said, oh, okay, that's a difficult one. They said, how's your training been going? And I lied through my teeth. Because day one on the bike, I clipped in, and I didn't know I wasn't going to be, unable to unclip my left side. Well, I started falling to my left side, and I stuck out my wrist, and I fractured my ulna day one on the bike. So I lost 3 months of training before I did this race, which is why I had zero training. And they said, oh, how's training been going? I said, oh, it's been going great. And they said, how many miles have you ridden? And I held up 3 fingers, and they all busted up laughing. They said, no, really, how many miles? And I said, no, really.
Yeah, 3
miles.
That's crazy.
And they had their mouths dropped, and they're like, you're crazy. Do you know what this is like? Have you seen the elevation? And I'm from Texas, so I looked at the elevation chart. The bunch of squiggly lines mean nothing to me.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, sure. Goes up and down, whatever, I'll figure it out. And they're like, all right, you're crazy. And then my friend Travis Ricks comes up to me that day, and he goes, here's my business card. It's got my cell phone on it. When you're ready to quit, call me, and I have a bike rack on the back of my truck so I can pick you up. And I was
That's
like, all right,
funny.
yeah. And he did it on purpose, this guy, because he knew it would light a fire under me. And I purposely left his business card on my hotel bed the next day. And I showed up. It was really early in the morning. And Travis goes, do you have a bike guide? And I was like, what's that? And why do I need it? And he goes, yeah, I'm going to get you a bike guide. And so he gives me this guy named Chuck. And Chuck was way too awake for 5 a.m. in the morning. And I was way too serious because I was terrified. And so Chuck's trying to get my story, and I'm just trying to focus on getting it over with. And then in my head, I'm going, oh, I'm never going to last 2.5 hours with this guy. It's going to drive me nuts. And the 2.5 hours came because I looked at other Paralympians finishing this race in that time who are very experienced. It took me 5.5 hours to do this, by the way.
It's cool that you finished.
In about 2 hours, I said, man, I'm so glad Chuck's here. Because he was sitting there telling me when to shift gears and what to do, and he was fantastic. And I almost got hit by a bus, and I fell on my bike twice. And there was a lot of bad things on that bike ride, but I found myself crying a couple times under my sunglasses. But you know what? It went from fear to I don't care, this is going to happen. And it was one of those life-changing moments where I got rid of my fears. And it propelled me forward ever since then. After that, it was like, all right, well, I did that with no training. I'm going to do a triathlon now, but I'll actually train for it this time. And that's kind of where the Lifetime series came in.
Yeah, the Lifetime series is pretty wild. I mean, it's a big deal for sure. A lot of people saw you, probably millions, and they saw you start like, hey, I'm gonna run. I'm actually gonna go out there and compete, and then you came back and you had a medal on your neck. That was pretty crazy. I'm gonna link that video too. So anybody's listening, make it. You have your whole link tree, so I'll link that in, and they'll be able to go straight to your site and be able to get all of this. And it's a crazy story. It really is. You have a really wild story because like the way you've grabbed onto things is, I think, a lot more rapid than most do, which makes it
I've done a lot in a really short amount of time.
Yeah, you set the bar high for your kid.
It's simply because I allow myself to.
Yeah, you've set the bar really high.
Simply, it's not really simple. Yeah, and a lot of it is because of my daughter, Emily. I want her to see that she can do anything, and the best way for me to show her that is to be the example and actually do everything I can. And I don't want her to grow up the way I did, where I had so much self-doubt and a lot of self-hate, honestly. And I just want her to be proud of herself and understand that she can do anything if she works for it. I'm not going to give her like this false idea that she can do everything. I want her to know she's going to have to work for it too. I've had to work to get where I am. This isn't something where I woke up and then suddenly here I am. I just did a lot of work really fast.
Yeah, I mean, especially under the circumstances, it wasn't just an injury. I didn't realize you lost your mom. I didn't realize, you went through other life transitions. I had no idea that was all going on and you're still thriving. I like the word cancer thriver, as much as cancer survivor, as much cancer fighter, stuff like that, because you're thriving through the situation and you totally thrived. Your template's awesome. It's a really rad template. I want to go back to be more adaptive and World Adaptive Sports. I mean, I'm interviewing soon. Coming up is Walk on Water. And that's an organization that could be easily linked into your page and they can see what's going on with them. And that's a group that handles a lot of PTSD, a lot of soldiers, a lot of situations that and gets them out surfing.
There's going to be a sector for that and be more adaptive too. So absolutely.
I just want the people listening to really hear that and know that this is going to exist. There's going to be like a ground zero. When do you think you'll release, at least go live with the first? Well, you're already there with a group. So what are you? Yeah.
So the group is in Facebook. So go into the group and, it's going to ask you simple questions, how you're relative to the adaptive world. And just answer the question, because if you don't answer, I'm not going to add you, because there are too many creepers out in this world that I have to filter through, that I'm not going to let infiltrate into these groups. But just answer the simple question, and then get in. And the group is open to adaptive athletes, or people who are interested in becoming adaptive athletes. You know, if you have a body, you're an athlete. It's what the CEO of Nike says, I believe. And, you know, it's open to manufacturers that work in the adaptive world, like Grit Chairs is one of the people that would be partnering with Be More Adaptive. Anybody that's in a nonprofit, anybody that's in research, absolutely. Go in there and message me and figure out what it's all about.
I can't help but rewind the creepy people thing. Occasionally I've had that happen.
I have a group for that too.
Oh my gosh. There's like the world is wacky. I mean, it gets crazy. I do.
Yeah.
You know, it gets pretty wild out there, especially when it comes to like social media groups and the comments.
Yes.
My God.
I created a group just for that, because when I became a new amputee, and suddenly I'm getting hundreds of friend requests from people I don't know who want to see my stump, my leg, or whatever they're going to call it. You know? Yeah. So I created a group called Stranger Danger, the Educated Amputee, and in parentheses it says accessible to everything. That's how you can find it. And the reason I leave amputees, even though it's accessible to wheelchair users or anybody with disability, is because a lot of times they search out groups with that word and they try to get into those groups, peer support groups. They try to get into peer support groups.
Wow.
So they can, message everybody for all these things. And what it is, it's a fetish. You know, they have a fetish for people with disabilities for whatever reasons. I mean, I get it. Everyone's got their thing. But the part that they don't understand is consent is everything. You know, if somebody says no, then it means no. And these people will steal your photos and put you on amputee porn sites without your permission. And that's where it's a problem, especially when you've got, amputee kids. There's a fetish for, pedophiles that are pedophile devotees. And I've got a friend that every now and then gets messaged by somebody that's, oh, I love how your leg was cut off. I'd love to cut the other one off for you. Let me know if you ever want that.
Are you fucking kidding?
No,
Sorry,
they're serious.
My
they're
language.
100% serious. They're very serious. And it's, one day I got a seemingly harmless friend request from a devotee, just somebody who's fascinated, not necessarily wanting to be dangerous, like some of them can be. And what you do is you go to their friends list, and they're all friends with each other, and you can go block them all. And so I went in, and about 6 friends in, I found everything from Lovey Love Socks, who loves dirty gym socks, to
Jesus.
Somebody who that one's probably my favorite. But
what the hell?
then you've got somebody that's kind of more on what you're used to when you hear about fetishes like dominatrix or leather fetishes, things like that. And then it kind of jumped and went to things I wasn't quite aware of, and it was things like stranglers, people who their fetish is to strangle somebody and kill them. And
do they fit like the
hangers.
mold? Do they like fit the mold? Like a windowless van, like I don't know, kind of like a bright red face all the time. Like it seems like they're always struggling or something. It seems like there's like a look to the creeps, man. Like they get in that darkness.
And it kind of goes back to like what's the show? Or it was book first. Can't remember. Word gray.
Oh,
help me out here. It was a sexual book.
Yeah. 50 Shades of Grey.
Fetishes.
Sorry.
Thank you. 50 Shades of Grey. Thank you. It goes back to that, where it can be somebody attractive that hides underneath it. It can be that creeper that looks awful, that's like 300 pounds, that sits behind his computer all day and eats Cheetos naked. So you've got that. Creeps can hide in all shapes and sizes. You've got people all across the world that are, they can be awful people in disguise. So it's important for people to understand that when you put things out there publicly on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, you're putting it out to everybody. And so when I did that, when I went from, dirty gym sock guy to strangler, and then I learned
that's escalating a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's dirty gym sock guy is just like dirty gym socks, like just like to sniff them, right? I mean, that's not necessarily going to hurt anybody per se. I'm sure there's different levels of that too, but there's a guy called the Houston Strangler, and I was like, Houston, oh crap, that's a lot
That's
closer
your
than
turf,
I'd like to
man.
be. Yeah, and so you've got people that hide with false identities all the time. And so that was when I created the group. I was like, nope, people don't realize how close it is to them. And now it's a very selective process to get in that group. You have to answer the questions, and guess what? I'm going to go through your profiles and look at everything. And if I don't see anything that confirms you are who you are, you're still not getting in, even if you are a safe person, just because it's that secret of the community. Because you allow one mole in, and guess what? The entire thing's blown. And that community has helped people lose anxiety over this. You know, we get like random phone calls from strangers asking us to send them whatever they want to see, right? And people will hide and lie to you, and they'll pretend they're amputees. And then you have this thing called wannabes. And then there's also ex-wannabes. So wannabes are people who want to be disabled, and they will purposely disable themselves, whether it's, you know, temporarily wearing a cast they don't need, or running out from training so you can lose both your legs. That's happened too. And then they're ex-wannabes when they actually become disabled. So, and it's a mental sickness is what it is. These people are mentally ill, and the thing is, they can be mentally ill and be dangerous. So you have to be aware that when you just friend random people and you post things that have your location, how vulnerable you make yourself when you do that.
Yeah, tell it to my kids. My God.
Yeah. There's a reason you don't see very much of my daughter on my social media pages. You'll see a little bit every now and then, but not very much. And she's always clothed, and, you know, you just don't see much Tinley. As much as she's gorgeous, and I'd love to put her out there all the time, but I can't. I'm friends with too many people I don't know. Once you get past a certain status and become a public figure, you just can't do it.
Got to be pretty vigilant because, like you said, people are creepy for sure. That sock guy, though, that's going to give me some nightmares for sure. I just thinking
You're welcome.
Yeah, holy shit, a sock guy. He needs to chill out.
Yeah,
what's going on in his everyday life?
You better wash your socks. Your dirty sock guy is going to come out from under your bed.
Dude, what is going on in his life that it went to that point? I mean, like, every day must be just complicated for him, and going past shoe stores and stuff must be a mess.
And maybe some of these people are just wired that way.
Yeah.
I don't study mental health, you know, as much as I will be, but you know, these people have life circumstances. Maybe they connect somehow in their childhood to some of these things. You know, you've got the people that I can't remember what it's called specifically, but they have like a mothering thing where they have to be put into a sack and closed up like they're in their
I just saw that like a week ago.
Yeah, so I mean, you've got all kinds of weird stuff out there. It's your job to protect yourself from it. You have to educate yourself. You have to learn this stuff so that you know it's out there. And then you just do the best to stay the heck away from it.
Yeah, that's some crazy stuff.
That's what Stranger Danger is for. Stranger Danger, we share the creepers, we share the messages so people know who to block and how to just avoid them as much as possible. You can't avoid them all, but it just makes you more aware. So that you're not letting these creepers in your life. And I'm sure it's put a little dent into their community, and they won't like me for that, but I don't care.
Yeah, that's a good thing you're doing, for sure.
They put a dent in my life by coming in and intruding and trying to, like, and they objectify you. They don't talk to you. They message you and say, hey, how's your leg doing today? Hey, how's your leg? It's always, how's your leg? They don't care about you. They really don't see you. They do not see you. So don't feel bad about just blocking these people out of your life because they're not there for you.
Who would have thought that even, you know, that'd be something that you have to encounter anyways after everything. It's just nuts.
Oh, it's so annoying.
Yeah. Oh man, that's crazy. But back, like, I don't even know how to round out of that one. That's just, it's somewhat funny. And then at the same time, it's so scary and weird. It's beyond something you can comprehend as a guy, I think, sometimes, you know, like, I'm sure guys get it too, but like for me right now, it's hard to comprehend.
It's really bad for girls. There are the ones that go after the guys too. It's like I said, it goes back to consent. You know, if you don't consent to it, you shouldn't be bothered by it.
Oh yeah, for sure. It comes down to consent. I'm glad we kind of jumped into the subject a little bit. There's a ton of perils found within social media, and hearing the craziness you encounter and then how to avoid is really helpful, and how you set up a group to kind of counter the craziness that's out there, the darkness, right? Your insight's really pertinent. It's super pertinent for sure. All right, so to round out this interview, because we're a bit up against the clock, our schedules are really tight today, both of ours, and your community, now called Be More Adaptive, is a rad tribe, and I want to make sure we round this out by mentioning that you guys share a bunch of information regarding all things adaptive, including events, workout tips, a bunch of good stuff. It's real adaptive athletes that are like really going out there, crushing it, providing a whole bunch of insight. It's just worthwhile to be part of the community. And I'm guiding listeners, go check out Be More Adaptive, because it's worth it. And you personally, Caitlyn Connor, you have a strong template, a really good template regarding how to adapt to the struggles. You also speak, you do public engagements. And if listeners wanted to reach out to you, hit you up, how do they do that?
I mean, if you hit me up on Instagram, you're going to speak to me directly right there.
Yeah, that seems to be, you have pretty quick response.
That's pretty direct. Yeah, it's pretty direct. You can also, and my emails are way too long. So yeah, Instagram's the fastest way right now until I get my Be More Adaptive email up. My Linktree has links to everything too.
Your Linktree's sick. I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to start bringing a Linktree over now for
so smart.
Yeah, for
my
interviews.
Boss taught me that.
Your boss is awesome for doing that. I mean,
he is awesome. He kind of saved my life this year by giving me a job. So.
Well, just so people know, you are a pro digital marketer. You're a marketer in general, not just digital, but you're a marketer. And so,
yeah,
like when you talk, you actually have working professional experience there. So
I do. I actually started, before I even got hired into marketing, I was doing my own marketing, just trying to get myself out there as an adaptive athlete and growing my own page, my own presence. And kind of what got me the job, because I was already using myself as an experiment.
Well, the experiment paid off. I mean, I love it. I've been around the marketing realm for a little bit, not professionally necessarily for marketing, but in the broadcast side and other things. So the way you handle it, the way you handle it's awesome. Now, with all this said, like, there's too much to cover. In fact, at some point, I'm going to reach out to you, especially when you get this community off the ground or built more, and Be More Adaptive is really out there. I'd love to come back, because there's so much of your story that we can't capture. Like, seriously, if people link into the things you're doing, we can't hit it all in an interview that's an hour. You know, it's just impossible. So we definitely want to have you back on for sure, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
And I really appreciate your time. I know you're super busy, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
No, thank you for having me on the show and taking your time to speak with me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Living Adaptive podcast. You can find more information about each guest and the podcast at livingadaptive.com. At livingadaptive.com, you can find previous episodes, links to social media accounts, writings, and a bunch of more good stuff. Peace.